Hi everyone, my name is Onyancha. I'm a mother of two. I'm a wife to an amazing young man, and yeah, I have a story to tell today. So I got married when I was very young. I was 23 years old. I got pregnant immediately, and by the time my graduation was coming, I had finished my coursework in campus, but we had not graduated. So in the waiting period, I got married, I got pregnant. So by the time graduation was coming, I was pregnant and on total bed rest. Total bed rest means I am not supposed to leave the bed. I'm not supposed to do any hard work or exercise. So it was tough. You are newly married, you are pregnant, you need to do a few things in the house. It was a difficult pregnancy. For the 9 months, I was on total bed rest and I delivered. Now, my story begins with delivery. It was a very bad experience. I know labor is not interesting. It's the most painful thing that a woman goes through. But now for me, women will tell you that when you're in labor, you have contractions. And these contractions come after some minutes, or others it can start from 30 minutes, and then the gap reduces until it's around a minute, roughly a minute, before you get to push and have your baby. So for me, for 10 hours, my contractions were 2 minutes apart. Like, it means after every 2 minutes, a contraction was coming, and those contractions are very painful. So I was literally in pain for 10 hours. It was traumatic. So after that experience, I delivered, and my daughter happens to have a slightly big head. So I had an episiotomy, but it led to a tear. That means after delivery, for the next 2 months, my episiotomy had not healed. On top of that, she has a very small mouth, so suckling and latching was really hard. So I had cracked nipples through that period. And then I had hemorrhoids. In short, I was in pain for the better part of the first 3 months after delivery. It was a painful experience, and being a new mother, you don't know what is expected of you. You know, people don't really prepare you as much to what is on the ground. It was devastating. I slowly drifted into depression. Now, for those months, I did not want to mingle with anyone. I didn't want to meet the people I knew, my friends. I didn't want to go to church. I just wanted to be alone. And I used to stay with my relatives, my sister, my cousins, sister, brothers-in-law. I used to live with them. So what this led me to was that my bedroom became my safe space. You'd find me in my bedroom the whole day. I would only leave probably to go to the washroom or do a few things here and there, take care of the baby when it's needed. That is what I could do. But my safe space was in the bedroom. And as I said, I crochet. My work is crocheting. So anytime I want to do anything, I'm working on anything, I later moved the seat from the sitting room to the bedroom. So all my life was in the bedroom. Not because I didn't like the people I used to stay with, but I just didn't want to relate with anyone. So this pushed me further to postpartum depression, and it was really bad. So we had to go for counseling, and I was regaining. 2 years down the line, we had a conversation with my husband, and it was to plan on, baby number 2. It made sense. The conversation made sense. I understood, as in it was the right thing to do. But there's this feeling that was within me, am I ready? Do I really want a child? The experiences, the pain I had gone through. Am I ready for this experience? But Mungu akacheza kiyeye. So I found out that I was pregnant. And for this one, it took me a few days to come into terms with the fact that I was pregnant again. And after that, I was super excited. I was prepared. I was ready from deep down my heart. I was ready for this journey. So we went to the clinic, and a few weeks down the line, I had a miscarriage. Now this crushed me. It crushed me because I self-doubted myself. Was I the reason as to why this was happening to me? Did I cause this? Is it because I was not excited at first to be pregnant? It was really bad. I felt so bad. After a few months, we tried again and I got pregnant. This time, I was ready. I can say I was ready for this journey. I was, from within and without, I was prepared to be pregnant. I was prepared for another child. But the experience, again, was not very interesting. I was put on total bed rest again. But one day I decided, let me go to the shop. I used to have a wholesale. So I went to the shop. The attendant that left there was going for deliveries. So when I came in, she told me, please, nishikilie kidogo, let me go and do some deliveries. I'm coming back. So while she left, a client comes in, a regular. So he comes in, he wants 10 liters of cooking oil. So nikamua sita beba, wacha nisukume. So I'm pushing this 10 liter jerrycan to the client. Nimemsukumia tu hivi, and then I hear a gush. Within minutes, I was soaked in blood. So the client looks at me. He doesn't know how to react. So he looks at me, looks down. I am there, I don't know what to do. It's like I'm frozen. I was frozen for around 2 minutes. So fortunately, he had the exact amount in his hand. So he puts it on the counter, comes and picks the jerrycan, and then he left. So I stood there for another 2 minutes. I didn't know what to do. How do I react? Do I start cleaning? Do I clean myself first? As in, where do I begin from? Then after a while, I closed the doors. I cleaned myself, cleaned the floor, and I decided to go home. I was so hungry. I was so angry. I was so mad. I did not even shed a tear, by the way. I was mad enough not to cry. I went back home, took a shower, prepared for, actually cleaned myself up, and then went back to the shop. I did not shed a tear. I just picked my phone, called my husband, and it was a by the way conversation. Unajua mimba imetoka by the way, and that is it. And I laughed about it, and I hung up, as in it had not sunk. After a few minutes, around 30 minutes, I decided there's a walk-in and an outpatient clinic in the center that I had the shop. So I decided, let me walk in, let me go in and get checked and see what we can do. Because I knew we were not, there's nothing that could be done to save the baby. I knew from the much blood I had lost. So I walk into the clinic. You know, the normal, you give your NHIF card and all those things. I did that. And it's now time to go and see the doctor. So I walk in and he asks me what the problem is. I explained. Actually, before I explained, you know, that there are these forms that you fill. It was my first time in that clinic. So, and the question was, how many children do you have? I said 1. How many times have you been pregnant? That is when it hit me. It was like a brick of stones. I have been pregnant thrice. I have 1 child. I did not say anything. I stormed out of the hospital, went back to the shop. Now that is when I broke down. But it had not really sunk so well. So a week down the line, I lost my father-in-law. So when digesting the news, that is when I noticed I really had so much pain that I had suppressed. So I cried. I called a friend who, she was actually on her honeymoon. I called her. She cried with me. And I could feel like a load had been offloaded off my chest. Fast forward, after the experience, after the burial and all those things, we came back to Nairobi. Now this time I now wanted a child. I wanted to prove to myself that I am a woman. I know it's insensitive to say that, but that is the feeling that usually comes. You want to prove to yourself that you can carry a child to term. And don't forget that society, in all these miscarriages or the gap, my daughter was 3 years old then, so everyone would ask, you know, you go meet people, you know, and they're like, unaletea Bianca sibling lini, you know, those questions. Unashinda, do you start explaining to them, I've had 2 miscarriages in this gap? How do you go about it? But this time it was not the external pressures. It was coming from within. I need a child. My periods are not regular. But for 4 months, 4 straight months, they were regular, faithful, on time. You know, you are praying to be pregnant. Next month comes, your periods are faithful, on time. The following month and the other, I was crushed. I was crushed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know who to cry to. Because what society does is they demean the pain that you're going through. You know, people will tell you, oh, you already have a child, so why are you stressing up? Or you are too young, you are still young, utapata mtoto. But the pains that come with losing and self-doubt and the pain that comes with knowing that I am trying, I would really love this gift and nothing is happening, is a lot of pain. So I cried for a while. So one day I decided, you know, my husband used to remind me every day, it's okay. It doesn't have to happen. It's okay. We are okay. But I wanted to, I don't know what I wanted to prove to myself, but I really wanted to get pregnant again. So finally, one day I just woke up excited, happy, light-hearted, and I had made a decision. I am not looking for another child. I will stay comfortable with this little girl that I have, and if a time comes that I really need another, then we can handle the situation then. So I was at peace. I had let it go. So my sister calls me this early, very early one day at around 6. And 6 is very early for a stay-at-home mother. It's very early. So she calls me and she's like, sis, niliota umepata mtoto mvulana and unanisumbua. Nimelala, si unipigie baadaye. And she's like, hapana, niliota uko na mvulana, wacha ujinga. That was our conversation. And then she hung up, and then at around 8 she calls me again. Nimeongea na madhe, tumeamua tutakuwa tunakuombea. We will fast for you this week. We will be praying for you. They didn't know that I had resolved that it's fine. I don't want to be pregnant again. So we just laughed about it. We talked for a while, laughed about it, and we are joking, I don't want, I don't want. And then 2 weeks down the line, I was puking. I was puking a lot. It was not morning sickness to me. I was puking in the morning, during the day, at night. Like it was a continuous thing. So we decided to go to the hospital. Actually, I did a home kit pregnancy test, and you could see the next line, the other line it's positive, yes, but it's very faint, very, very faint. So we went for a blood test. It was confirmed I was pregnant, and because of the previous miscarriages that I had, so the doctor said you will be put I will have to go to the clinic after every 2 weeks. So I began my clinics really, really early. So every 2 weeks we are going back to the hospital. Then we did our scan at around, I think, 8 or 10 weeks, and we noticed that I was carrying twins. It was exciting. It was the best moment of my life. You know, when you're going back and the conversation is, God is finally wiping my tears, you know. From all these losses, I am going to have twins. So we were excited. We went home. It was interesting, you know, talking about it. How will it happen? How will it be? You know, a mother of twins. Then we went again for another scan. The next time we were going for a scan, the doctor tells us that one of the twins stopped growing at 10 weeks. It was crashing. Sometimes I feel, at that moment I used to feel, am I being selfish? At least there is one baby who is healthy and growing. But I also felt I was prepared for 2. Should I mourn this one that I have just lost? So it was a confusion of excitement, a confusion of pain. And one thing that weighed me down now was, it finally hit my husband. He had been very strong for us. But for this, in every clinic that we visited after that, you know, we did a lot of scans through this pregnancy. So we'd go, and the conversation on our way to the hospital would be, he would always ask, I think up to around 5 months, what if this time tuende tutapata mtoto ameamua kugrow, like God has worked his miracles, as in it was wrong last time, mtoi ana grow. And I could see the pain, the hurt in his eyes, and it was painful. Fast forward, the pregnancy was not easy. It was really tough. It came with a lot of complications, and it came with a lot of complications. By around 4 months, I had started having pains. And you remember, I had a condition called hyperemesis gravidarum. This is where your morning sickness is hyper. Like it's not the normal morning sickness that people have. I could puke blood. You know, you start puking food, you puke bile, and you know how painful bile, or how bitter bile is. Then you puke blood. That is how painful the experience was. I couldn't even take water because my throat was corroded. It was painful to eat anything, painful to take water, painful to even puke again the next time I'm going to puke. So these experiences, plus now at 4 months, I start having pains on my pelvic bone, pelvic area. So anytime I make a step, you know the movements that you make, it is painful. Anytime I want to turn in bed, it's painful. So at first I thought probably it is something that will itaisha, but after a while it did not. After a while it was actually getting more painful each and every day. So the next time I went to the clinic, the doctor noticed that when I was, you know, when you want to lie on the bed kupimwa, I was struggling. It was painful. So he asked what the problem was. I explained to him. That is when he told me the condition. It's called pelvic symphysis dysfunction. It is a very, very painful experience. You cannot make a step. You cannot go up the stairs. You cannot turn in bed, literally. So every month that was passing, it was getting worse and worse and worse. And to top up on it, my son was really heavy. And I say heavy because I delivered him at 32 weeks. And at 32 weeks, even if you go to Google, you will know that the weight of a child, the average weight of a child at 32 weeks, when you're 32 weeks pregnant, is 1.7. By the time I was giving birth to him at 32 weeks, he was 3.2 kgs. So he was really heavy. That means if I had gone to term, probably would have been an overweight child. So that weight exerted on my pelvic bone brought more pain. So it got to a point that, you know, nikitapika, unatapika, unajisusulia, but there's nothing you can do to yourself because you can't do the cleaning yourself. You can't take care of yourself. It got to a point that I have to crawl to the sitting room. But God blessed me with a really nice house help. Her name was Jessica. Jessica cleaned after me, but I did not hear her speak about it to anyone. I did not see her attitude change towards me. So at 32 weeks, we went to the hospital for a normal routine check, but at this point I was really in pain. I was in pain. So my husband said, you know what, we are not doing this anymore. It's either an emergency, yes, or we just do away with the pregnancy, because the pain, you could see the hurt. You could see how much I was hurting. And then, you know, he has to go to work, so he's not there the whole day to take care of me. And at night, now that I can't even turn, he has to be there to take care of me. And remember, we have a child. So we called the doctor. We had come from clinic, we were at parking, at the parking space. And my husband says, we are not going up the stairs. We used to stay on the 3rd floor of the building. So he says, we are not going up there. Today you are going to the hospital. So we called the doctor. And the doctor says, it's okay. We had already started preparing for an emergency delivery. So I had already had the jab to help the lungs of the baby develop. So the doctor said, it's okay. I was scheduled for surgery. That evening we went to theater and I had my handsome son. Now, apart from the pains of these losses that I had, apart from the difficult pregnancies that I had, I also had emotional battles to work on. I had to reassure myself over and over again that I am not worthless. That was the feeling that I had for a very long time. I felt so worthless. I felt like a burden in this amazing young man's life. You know, when you have a really good spouse, very supportive, always there for you. But when you see what you're not able to do for them, at least appreciate what they are doing for you. It kills you within. So emotionally, I was a wreck. I did not feel the worth. I did not know why I was alive. I did not know how to reassure myself that I'm woman enough, reassure myself that he still loves and appreciates me, even though I am not able to do all that a healthy young woman could do in a marriage. As I said, for the past 5 years, my bedroom has always been my room. I can wake up in the morning, unless there's anything that is supposed to be done to the child, I stay in my bedroom. Crocheter, I don't want to see people, I don't want to go to church. Because I remember when my daughter was 6 weeks, my husband went to church with her and my sister. And they could come home and, someone would call you friends out of a kind heart. Masi, why are you not coming? Mama, see what is happening. And all those questions used to push me far away from fellowship. Someone actually commented sometimes, since uolewe naona kijana wetu anasumbuka sana. How do you leave your husband anakuja kanisani peke yake? And it was the most painful statement I've ever had. I am trying my best, because if she had taken time to be sensitive, honestly, I had even tried my best that morning to make that decision to leave my house, my comfort zone, to go to church. The insensitivities that come with the people, And I say church not because church is a bad place. I say church because my life, as you can hear, is within my house or when I go to church. My friends are basically from church. So that is why I'm saying church. But it was becoming hard for me to fellowship. At some point we changed churches. And then later, I think with time, with counseling, reassuring myself that it's okay, Masi, you can do this. Masi, you're beautiful. Masi, you've done your best. You are a strong woman. Coming out of all these pains and everything that you've gone through, Masi, you are a strong woman. I have had to reassure myself over and over again. I have had to encourage this little girl in me that it is okay. You're better than what you think you are. It's been a long journey, but I can say I'm in a safe space. I can now talk about my experiences, and I can encourage others who've gone through the pains that we've gone through. There's so many people who reach out and tell me, Masi, how do we go about it? I have had a miscarriage. I am able to give them a leaning shoulder. And I thank God because He put me through these pains. I know it sounds weird, but yes, I can talk. Probably if I hadn't gone through all these experiences, I could have been very insensitive to other people who've had their losses. But through the experiences, I have learned a lot. I have learned to be sensitive to the people who have losses. I have learned to listen to people, pour out their hearts and their heartaches so that they can get a relief and get to take another chance in life. Thank you very much.